that we have two wonderful people on today to talk to us about education. There's been a lot of educational decisions being made, lots of things going on. We want to bring that information to the community to help to empower them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin by, again, just saying hello and a warm welcome to everyone, and asking them if they can please share the live, because when we share the live, this is the way that we expand the audience for communication. So again, that we can be empowered in our communities. So that being said, I want to first introduce you guys to Walter Hudson. And Walter is just going to share a little bit about himself. And we all know in our community, Corey Teague. Many people may know Walter Hudson as well. But I'm going to allow both these gentlemen to just take a moment, starting with Walter, to introduce themselves. And then we're going to move forward from there. So welcome, Walter Hudson.
Thank you for having me, Sheila.
Thank you for being here. Can you just introduce yourself to the listening audience briefly and let them know who you are?
Well, those of you who don't know, I'm Walter Hudson, aka Walter X. One of the freedom fighters down here in South Jersey, trying to, change things for Black and brown people, trying to keep the issues on the forefront. So that that's me in its nutshell. I don't want to give a long drawn out adjectives. I mean, not adjectives, but adjectives. But people know who I am. So
absolutely. Listen, we're glad to have you here. Glad to have you here, and glad to have you on the forefronts with boots to the ground. Absolutely. Also in South Jersey. Thank you. We need that.
Sure.
So, awesome. So with that being said, Corey Teague, were you in the paper today?
Yeah, which it's not uncommon, but hey, that's what we have to do to fight.
I see. You're getting to meet. Listen, Walter. Corey. Tell the people a little bit. Most of them probably know who you are, but just give them a little snippet and explain what were you doing in the paper today? What's going on? What's current?
Okay, my name is Corey Teague. For those who don't know, I'm a lifelong Patterson resident, longtime community activist, education activist. Now I'm currently a school board member in the city of Patterson. Today I was basically petitioning the governor to go ahead and just make sure that the schools remain closed for the rest of the school year, at least for the rest of this school year, because there's no reason at this point, with all that's going on, to subject our children to social distancing rules when, you like in Patterson, you may have 30 children in one classroom. There's no way you could socially distance them 6 feet apart from each other in that small classroom. So it doesn't make sense. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, a crisis. It makes no sense to push all our children into a school building. Quite frankly, parents, the teachers union, these folks have already been saying unofficially that they're not even going to comply with that. So it makes no sense to do it. So the governor should come out in front of it and just say, okay, we're going to close the schools.
Okay, so hello, good evening, Rolanda. Listen, for those of you who have joined, thank you so much. We need as much community engagement as possible, because these decisions not only affect our students, they affect all of us. So I want you guys to just really quick put yes or no. We're going to take a quick poll. Do you think the schools should reopen? Yes or no? Because some parents want the schools to reopen. Some legislators want the schools to reopen. So I want you guys to put in what you think, yes or no, from the people. And while you're doing that, we're going to continue with the conversation, because again, far too many people who matter, especially in urban communities, don't get an opportunity to get their voice in with the decision making that's going on. And it affects us, it impacts us. And when we're all not included, it impacts us in a negative way. So with that being said, Corey, just tell us a little bit about the newspaper article. What were you thinking when you did it? What do you think? Do you think that it would be well received by the governor? How do you feel?
Yes, I mean, I've developed a strong relationship. Maybe relationship's too strong of a word. A strong companionship with him, to the point where he listens to things that I bring to him, because he knows I don't bring anything that's minuscule. When I bring an issue to him, he knows that I've already tallied the community and asked them, how do you feel about this? And I wrote that letter after speaking with hundreds of Patterson parents, and even more today, who were all saying, look, no matter what they do, I'm not sending my child into that building, for the remainder of this school year, because I don't feel that it's safe. And this is coming from students, teachers, educators, parents. There is a growing concern that it's just not going to be a safe environment. And so, you know, I decided after receiving all the input from the community that, okay, it's time for somebody to say something, because I haven't really heard any of the school board members in any district really saying anything on that topic per se directly. So I said, well, somebody's going to have to do it. When it came to the when it came to the park testing, you remember, Sheila?
Right.
A lot of the board members didn't want to speak up. I spoke up and kept my daughter out of it. You remember they would investigate me.
I kept my child out too.
Yeah. So I said, all right, I guess I'm gonna have to do it again. So
right.
After hearing from so many parents and community leaders saying, you know, this is just not going to work, but you know how it is. Everybody, they know what they want to say, but sometimes there's that one person that has the courage to just go ahead and say it publicly. And so I said, well, I'm going to have to do it. So that's
good
how
for you. Good for you, Corey. Thank you for holding your ground on that. And again, I just want to welcome Levon, Derek, and Phyllis, and Sharif, Rolanda. Hello, Rafia, Kabir, Darnell. Listen, you guys say yes or no. Give me a Y or an N in the comment section as to whether or not you think the schools should be reopening. And Walter, to you, what do you think should be happening at this time in terms of the schools reopening or not?
Well, you know, I believe it should be shut down as well, because we're dealing with so many uncertainties. And, you know, with the way, especially in, you know, the Black community, you know, as Corey said, how they have the classroom set up, you know, you get, you know, 20, 30, it's hard to keep a so-called six space or 6 feet of distance when you have a packed classroom. So they definitely should, it's not even considered, but, you know, go ahead and make the executive order now to shut the schools down, because that's what Governor Wolf in Pennsylvania has done it already. New York done it. Fact today, I was reading somewhere the governor just, you know, shut it down. So I think we, you know, Governor Phil Murphy need to follow suit.
Right. I definitely agree. And with that being said, they have already made the decision in New York as of today to shut the schools down for the rest of the year. Corey, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the governor understands that, you know, just, you know, as Walter said, the uncertainty is the biggest issue here, because we still have so many people that need to be tested. We still have, you know, the numbers that they have already, those are people that they tested already. How about the people they haven't even gotten to yet? So to me, it's just too widespread, and there's too many questions without enough answers for us to just send our children back into that environment without even knowing what we should have already set up in place to prevent anything else from happening. There's a virus, so it could be spread very easily. Right. So I think that because of the high levels of uncertainty and just having so many questions and not really enough concrete answers, and being that we haven't dealt with something like this in a very long time, since 1918, we should have, you know, an objective view to say, listen, we're not trying to attack anybody, but we want to protect our children first and foremost.
Right. Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Walter, Atlanta, they reopened. They didn't reopen the golf courses, right? They didn't open the tanning salons, but they did reopen the barbershops, right? That many of us frequent. They opened the nail salons. Yeah. As of right now, the next day, it was 200 new cases. As of right now, it's over 1,000 new cases. Give us your opinion on that.
Well, I mean, our people, man, we have to be smarter and really take this serious in a sense. People are actually out here, you know, dying. You know, on the onstart of all this, you know, I was even on the fence. I'm like, wait a minute. Is this just a simple or common flu or cold or whatever? Because I was sick a couple months ago, had the same symptoms as they were describing. But, you know, as things evolve, they say this is like 5 times worse than, you know, the flu. So in Atlanta, man, we have to be, you know, smarter and understand like our livelihoods are at stake. And, you know, and I would venture to say that I would entertain the conversation of this being a form of a control issue, control in the sense of, you know, people, you know, far as you know how they say the browning of America and all that, and you know how the white power structure is fearful of the America being overpopulated with, you know, black and brown people. So, you know, it's a lot of things that, you know, looking at what's going on in Atlanta, we really have to take serious.
Right, absolutely. Corey, would you like to weigh in on that at all?
Yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, they opened up nail salons, they opened up, what do you call it? Bars that they know that we frequent. And, you know, that should have raised red flags within our community. They open up specific places and specific locations. And now, and also Florida, their numbers jumped up ever since they reopened Florida.
Right.
You know, I mean, what is it that they didn't get? I don't understand.
It seems to be a lot of pressure being put on, I'll say the governor. Okay. There was some conversation that I see that is being put even on a local level with mayors to reopen. And we know that this country, if you will, is built on trade. So if we don't reopen up the country, let's talk about this for a minute, because if we don't open up the country, parents are not going to be able to go to work. How do you think that's going to impact our communities? And I'm going to start with Walter with that.
I mean, looking at the, you know, they gave the stimulus, to the people, and quite interestingly enough, they give you these $1,200 checks, and like what we seen in Atlanta, it's like they taking that and putting it back into, you know, the businesses in the communities or however. Now, to that point, you know, we have parents that need to work. So it's kind of, there's a tough decision has to be made as far as, okay, how do we get the parents, you know, back to work without it compromising how they provide for their families and everything. So this has to be very well, you know, thought out. And, you know, the people in the communities going to have to raise their voices to the local leaders, to the state leaders, on up. I mean, just going into this blindly is just going to get worse, and it has gotten worse before it gets better.
Right, absolutely. So when our children are out, and this is a question I like to pose not only to you guys, but for the listening audience, I would like you to weigh in as well. When our children have been out now for, let's say, since March, April, May, June, that's 4 months, July, August, right? That's 6 months. Do you think, and I'm going to start with Walter, and I'm going to go to Corey, do you think that this will impact the dropout rate that we have in urban communities? Do you think that kids will get comfortable being out of school and just decide not to go back at some percentage point? What do you think about that?
Well, you know, I have children that's in school. So every day, you know, I have to remind them this is not a vacation. You know, right. You still have homeschooling and virtual schooling. So without the class setting, you have to be mindful and take it serious and keep focused. Give it the same amount of energy that you was given when you were in the class setting. And do I think that this is going to impact the dropout rate? Absolutely, because some of our people does not have the resources, you know what I mean, as far as, you know, the laptops, you know, computers and, you know, things like that. So it's going to hurt us. I believe a great idea is going to hurt Black and brown poor people, you know, very much so. So absolutely. Well, I ain't got this, I ain't got that. Oh, well, you know, I wasn't doing good anyway, or, you know what I mean? So there's going to be those type of attitudes that are going to be, you know, unforeseen. And I believe that, you know, it's going on right now because, you know, we know our community lacks resources.
Right. They're almost in a bit of a quagmire, whereas if the parents are not working, then they can't afford cable, Wi-Fi, or the things that's needed. Additionally, even though I'm hearing certain schools and certain districts are actually giving laptops, well, Chromebooks to the students who qualify for free lunch. So what about those that don't, and then that's another aspect of everything. So Corey, if you could just weigh in on what you think in terms of the impact of the dropout rate, potentially, and along with who gets the Chromebooks, the people who qualify for free lunch.
Well, I know yesterday we had a meeting, a workshop, via Zoom with all of the school board members, and we discussed that starting Monday we're going to be distributing Chromebooks to students in elementary school levels and middle school. Right. The interesting thing was I received inbox messages from a lot of parents who said, they don't really want that because their child already has laptops or Chromebooks at home that they already own.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so a lot of them were saying, so what I've been doing all day today is trying to comprise a list of parents who say that they already have them so that we can find maybe other students that need them. So, more to what was being said, that as a community at this point, because we haven't really dealt with something on this level before, so it's going to be very important for us as a community to all come together and actually work as one unit.
Right.
Because, and that's what I've been, for the last several weeks, I've noticed that some folks are working together, some folks are, it's like, for some reason, this pandemic has really opened up our eyes as to who's who. You understand what I'm saying? In terms of us as a community, look, we've dealt with some of the harshest possible lifestyles that you could ever imagine. We know how to survive off of just about nothing. So in terms of the economic piece, I think we're going to find a way to survive. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to find a way to make it. We always do. I'm talking about Black people. I mean, and that doesn't mean I'm against any other group. I'm just talking about Black people right now. We've made it through some of the harshest conditions and we still survived. So some way we'll get through it.
Very good. I agree. Walter, what do you think? What's going on in South Jersey in terms of the issuing of the Chromebooks, if they're getting any? What's the situation in South Jersey?
Well, I know in our district, in Penns Grove Cornings Point School District, I believe a grant had came through to whereas majority of the kids receiving free and reduced lunch, were able to get the Chromebooks and things like that. And but there are other districts that are not as fortunate. You know what I mean? Some who have more than one sibling going to the same school got to share, or they're waiting on laptops, or what have you. So I'm definitely it's at this point it has to be all hands on deck. With with the elected, and even with the clergy, because there's a responsibility that everyone plays in this.
Right. So my next question is this, because I think people have to just make the decisions that's best for the children. And like you said, the decisions need to be well thought out. They need to be based upon data, right? And demographics vary. So those things are important. Now, what I do want to say is, Commissioner Corey, as a current board member, right? And Walter as a post-board member, what do you think about the decision for Newark Public Schools to relinquish their rights over to the superintendent? And Walter, I think I'm going to start with you with that question just to see, because I don't know how the process works out in South Jersey. So if you could just share with us a little bit about just being a board member, would that be something that you would even consider, that your board members would consider? Do you think, of course, and what do you think about that? Because that's something else that has happened here that is unprecedented.
Oh, I'm totally against that. Me being a former board member, people have to understand the structure of the board. Like, the board holds the superintendent accountable. The superintendent has to answer, to the board, and we have to answer to our constituents. So I'm definitely totally against that. And, I would fight tooth and nails in South Jersey if that ever was to happen, especially given all the institutionalized, conditions that's going on in my community. And just to give the superintendent now, who have failed to move the school district forward, give them total control. No way.
Corey?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like we said a few days ago, that's unbelievable. I mean, as Walter said, you know, the Board of Education has one employee, and that's the superintendent. So you're giving your power to your employee. That's ridiculous. You hired them to fulfill, to fulfill a job, and now you're giving them your authority. That's your employee. They work for you.
Right.
So you've essentially relinquished, and these are some of the same folks who were against mayors being able to appoint board members.
Right.
Well, here, if you're relinquishing all your power to the superintendent, you're giving the superintendent now power to make decisions on behalf of the board. And I was saying to you before, I don't even know if that's ethical. I mean, I think that even crosses the line of ethics, because as board members, we have a statutory obligation to hold the line and not relinquish our vote or our power to anybody. You know what I mean? Right. So I don't know if there's some newer people out there who may look into it deeper, because everybody's home right now.
Right. Indeed. So I think Corey's camera froze up. Walter, I want to ask you a question too, because I know that when you ran,
yeah, I think it got tuned out a second there. Well,
okay. I'll come back.
Back in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, I mean, I don't know if there's some newer community members who want to really look into this and see if any ethics violations were violated with it. There's a potential for ethics violation or ethics charge to be filed. Because that's crazy. What was the basis of them relinquishing their authority?
Yeah, and not only that, they also went as far as to input policy. Well, I'm not going to say it's policy at all, but it's just the avoidance of transparency. Whereas the board members are supposed to meet with the community, they started a process whereas they're having private meetings with just 3 members at a time. So 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 these are games that people play in Newark, and that's why I keep asking for the people who watch to share the live, even if it's in group in your network, because people don't know, and then they'll end up voting for the same people again, you know, sometimes who are doing these things, attempting to take their rights, and people fought for those rights. Like even if you consider the preamble of the Constitution of the United States, we the people,
that's
first and foremost, in order to form a more perfect union, we must first establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Listen to the words, right? Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Posterity meaning what? Relating to what? Our future, right? Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America, but somehow when we look at America, right, it's a tale of 2 different, you know, stories going on here. We got 2 whole different things going on. You know, we see it in the way that the police treat people, right, during apprehension. We see it in the way that our students are getting educated. We see it in the way of when a crisis such as COVID-19 hits, in terms of our health care, right, or the lack thereof. People are still fighting against universal health care. And now we have Biden, who is actually running for president, right? And you know, our family members down south has put this candidate up to the forefront of a lot of other people. So my question, and I'm going to start with Walter with this, as a freedom fighter that you are, Diddy made a comment, I think yesterday morning, where as he said, we as Black people need to collectively demand something from him. And I think that the demand is probably hinting toward Stacey Abrams being the pick for VP, because there's some, you know, hesitation on whether or not he should pick a Black person. And, you know, Diddy spoke in terms of politics being transactional, that you have to get something out of the deal. And we're not even going to talk about the accusations that are coming out against him now. We're not even going to touch that, because we want to stay to this part, because this constitutional part dwindles down into what we're dealing with education. So again, Walter, just in short, what is your opinion on, you know, should we hold him accountable to having Stacey Abrams as a potential VP pick, or should we just say, hey, we're just going to go with him because he's not Trump? Because I'm hearing a lot of that too. What's your take?
Well, you know, to be quite honest, I would rather be Auntie Maxine, but you know, that's just me. But
Okay.
I mean, regardless of who it is, we have to hold them, you know, accountable to a Black agenda, right? And when I say Black agenda, there has to be tangibles that we make our demands on, and force Biden, whoever he gets, to have them commit to this. Because for so many years, for so long, they have been courting the Black vote in our communities, get our votes, make us feel good, pat us on the head, get to where they are in position, and then forget about us. Then they do other things and telling us to wait. So I agree with what Diddy is saying. Also, in terms of it just seems like we always have to have the option of the less of the two evils. Because let's keep it all 100. Because Biden, he hasn't been good to Black folk.
Not at all.
But Black folk were so caught up into Obama, how he was well spoken in a beautiful family, but yet he had someone who was responsible for mass incarceration. Matter of fact, he was the founder of the bill, right? 94. What was that, Corey?
Is that the 3 strike law?
Bill?
Yeah, the 3 strike law, I think. Was it?
Yeah.
That was part of it. Yeah, that was part of it.
He backed any and every bill that he could in terms of mass incarceration.
Right.
That's right.
And I'm not feeling like you said, Walter, with the lesser two evils. It's time for there to be a choice that's not evil at all.
Yeah, and Dick Gregory said this. God bless. Dick Gregory. He said the only way that you would choose the lesser two evils if only you are evil yourself.
That's right.
And, we shouldn't have to have that option, man. Like, come on. And then even looking at Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders signed the bill. So, people don't talk about that. He signed it.
Right. Absolutely.
Teach. Corey, what do you think about that?
Well, and I was looking up while we were having this dialogue, I found something it's a quote from the Constitution. It says, "But when a long train of abuses and aspersions pursuing invariably the same object, evidences are designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security." That's the Constitution. That means, if something is wrong, those who have the power to act have the responsibility to act.
Right.
So as the brother was saying, Walter was saying, it's unfair for us to have to pick between the lesser two evils. Right. And I feel like at least for the last decade or so, even more than that, that's what we've kind of been left with. So what does that mean? It means that all politics are local. We have to start on the local level, checking these people before they advance to these higher offices. Because, you have in all of these local governments, these folks, when they get in these seats, they're automatically got their eyes fixed on Washington. They're trying to find out what their route is going to be to get there. So we got to check them when they're in the local community and tell them, hey, if your aspiration is to end up in Congress or the Senate, we have some demands of you here on the ground on the local level before you get to the federal level. So we have to start catching these folks before they leave town. Cory Booker, when he was the mayor of Newark, if you need to find him, don't look in Newark because you wasn't going to find him in Newark. He would be somewhere else. Now he's in D.C. But that's because this whole time he was mapping out that plan. The mayor we have in Patterson now, I'm almost certain that he's going to run for Congress just because the way that he's campaigning and the way that he's doing things. And that's a lot of things like people like me, people like Walter, we were on, with school board and whatever, but we're not politicians. Politicians are especially career politicians. They're not looking at one seat. They're fixing themselves for the next position that they're going to get to on a much higher level. So what we got to do, we got to catch these jokers when they're on the local city council, local school board, county freeholder. That's where we have to catch them and say, hey, we're kind of watching your moves and the things you're saying and how you're not. They take a position, and then when they get the position, they don't take a position.
Right.
They flim, they bounce around. So
Right.
we got to catch them on the local level and make sure they do what they're supposed to do now, so we don't have to be chasing them down later in DC.
Right. And so let me just say this. You know, I had this talk, you know, plenty of times about the lesser two evils in the barbershop, about my boys and stuff like that. So, you know, the public is saying like, oh, well, people die for your right to vote and this, that, and the other. So it's kind of like they okay with the lesser two evils. But I gave them scenario. I said, let's just say in Dr. King and the Civil Rights movement, Dr. King, what if they had got the right, you know, to vote? What if Dr. King didn't have to go through what he went through to get all that, right? And they had to vote for police chief, Bull Connor and Clark, right? So no way, it would have been no way that Dr. King and would have moved to push the people of Selma, Alabama to take the lesser of two evils, knowing the background and the history of Bull Connor and I believe his name was I know it was Clark, but you know they was notorious of brutality against Black people. No way impossible that Dr. King would have been out there stumping for the right to vote. We get the right to vote, and then here the people of Selma have Bull Connor and Clark. No way.
Exactly.
Right. So we talk about, right, academic injustice, right? And we know that leads to mass incarceration. And we also know that leads to there's a lot of social injustice going on. And Walter, if you could just speak, you know, to your experience and your knowledge as it pertains to that, it would be amazing if you could just share that.
Yeah, so down here, like where I'm at, you know, I call it Selma, South Jersey.
Wow. All right.
You know, my the school district that, you know, two of my kids currently attend, two of my sons, because, you know, I had to pull my daughter out, and she goes to a charter school. So people don't understand, and I try to, in my advocacy, try to educate them on the school to prison, you know, pipeline, right? So we had a lobbyist come in once, and this is why I was sitting on the board, and people didn't understand who they were talking to. So he was talking about, it was a lobbyist group from the CCA, the Corporate Corrections of America. They didn't understand that. Even the people who I was sitting on the board, they didn't understand who was sitting in front of us. So basically, he came in and just was talking about the demographics of Penns Grove and the county, and they already had data. They were showing us data that we didn't even know. So after all of that, and I said, do y'all understand what he was saying? He's basically a lobbying group. They're looking to build more prison. I said, because the thought process is, okay, we're looking at this area. These kids are not being educated anyway, because look at the dropout rate. Look at the test scores. So basically, if they don't get educated, they're going to resort to a life of crime. So the more we have resorting to a life of crime because they're not educated, then those are the prisons and the juvenile detention centers that we're going to have to build. And in fact, they already, I believe, I don't know if they completed, but I know it's already started in Cumberland County. They, I don't know, I think they built a new jail or a new prison. So that's where, you know, I come in at and getting the people to see that we have to hold everyone accountable, the parents, the people who we elect on the school board, even the mayor and city council. Just look at the structure, you know, of our school board. Like for instance, with Penns Grove, we have about 80% illiteracy rate, right? 80% literacy rate. And about 2 years ago, the school district spent $10,000 on a curriculum audit, right? It's a 232-page document, basically that said that, you know, the educational gap is so wide, and by time we have so many issues, by time our seniors, vast majority of our seniors are graduating, reading on 8th, 10th grade reading level. And this is not Walter Hudson saying this. This is what the white woman who the school district paid $10,000 to tell them of the deficiencies that some that I told them while before that. And I presented them with a document, and I presented them with some resolutions to deal with the issues that are going on. But I guess it comes better, you know, when the white man or the white woman ice is colder. So, you know, we have, in looking at third grade, about 50, I want to say 54% third graders, because we have 5 buildings, right? We have 5 buildings. So we have first to third. And statistics show, data shows that 54% of third and fourth graders, of third graders coming out of third grade, going to the fourth grade, are already 2 to 3 years behind in reading and math, right? So we have the superintendent now who has failed to deal with the academic gaps, right? We have a $42 million budget, right? And 75% of that is spent on paying, you know, the salaries and health benefits, right? So you would think, common sense, we are struggling with reading. You would think that she would take money out that budget and hire a progressive reading specialist to deal with the issues, but she's not.
Right. And so it goes back to, again, the board, right? The representatives that the community hired to serve their interests, right? And so when you have other people, what I always refer to as shadow government, right? Putting these people in position, because we don't see them. They like, you know, in the shadows. And they put these people in the position, and the people get there and don't do what they're supposed to do, because they only want certain people there who won't talk about what it is they're actually doing. And Corey, before I come back to you, I want you to talk about that a little bit also, Walter, because when you first got elected, and I'm going to come right to you, Corey, just share a little bit about how that board switched around when you finally got on. Just share a little bit of that.
So what happened was, like I said, there was issues, right? Yeah. And I was kicking in the door, both barrels blazing. I was shooting first, asking
questions. What kind of issues, Walter?
Huh?
A little bit. What kind of issues? Just in general.
So basically, the superintendent, he was running the school district like a slave plantation, right? No one black or brown that was from the community, who graduated from the community, could get jobs. He was hiring people with less qualifications. In fact, he had his wife working, making $75,000 with non-certified. She wasn't even certified in stuff that she was doing. So it was totally unethical, illegal, whatever. Wow. So people on the board knew about it, and I vowed that, you know, once I get on, things going to change. I wrote so many letters to the editor and all this other stuff. So I got in. So I would say the first 3 months, first 3 weeks of me getting on that board, I had 3 board members resign.
What?
Because I was, and not only that, the superintendent put in for his retirement, because they knew they would have to deal with me. Now I'm privy to information. So not only did I hurt them by knowing what I was talking about, they knew I was telling the truth because they knew about what was going on. So now, okay, I'm voted in now. Now you're gonna have to deal with me behind closed doors. Now I'm privy to all these documents, and now I can request all this information. So, you know, when it's like when a ship starts sinking, you know, the first thing to jump off are rats. So that's what happened. When I got on, rats jumped off ship.
That's exactly.
So this is so crazy to me. So they just resigned.
Yeah. They resigned because we had a conversation. We had a conversation behind closed door. In fact, what the superintendent was doing that they knew about, he would come to. He had a lavish contract. I mean, this man was taking what, almost $300,000 home between his salary. We was paying.
Kids couldn't read though.
Yeah, kids couldn't read, but you know, we paid for his cable, his cell phone. We paid for his travel to work, right? So he was coming to work in one car with his wife, right? With his wife, because his wife worked in the school district, right? That was another issue. But he was coming to work, filling out travel vouchers for 2 people. Coming to work in one car, but filling out travel vouchers for 2 people.
Wow.
People on the board knew that, and they did nothing about it. So my thing was this: I got documentations. So, and not only I had documentations to every other stuff that was unethical, illegal. He should have been in jail. Now, a few other people should have been in jail because they knew about it and they did nothing. So my thing was this: either y'all deal with this, or I'm going to the media with it. And like kind of like the media in South Jersey, when Walter Hudson name was attached to it, you know, I got the news vans all lined up, and they knew that, and they didn't want that because, you know, I had created so much buzz of protesting against police brutality and all the other stuff. Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what was happening. And then now the people, once I got on and the whole dynamic started to change, because it was a majority white, 85% of the school district black, you know, black and brown students. So once I got on, we was able to, you know, get, you know, hire more, you know, black and brown people. So people got jobs who couldn't get jobs before once everything's changed.
Wow. Corey, did you see any changes come into fruition once you got on the board?
Yeah, one of the board members is leaving. She's running for the city council, the first ward, Nakima Redmond. She's one of our board members. I don't know if I could say that I was the cause of it, but I will say they were not happy to see me back. I was on the school board from 2012 to 2015. And then, you know, they were able to get me off. You know, they ran people who had records who were unable to run, you know, everybody. They ran all kinds of people just to split the numbers. You know what I mean? So I ran 3 more times after that and didn't win. 2015, 17, 2015, 16, 18, and I didn't win. Just last year, 2019, you know, they didn't know how to act. I have the video still if you ever want to post it. When I showed up in City Hall to get the numbers, and they were in the corner, and the ironic thing is they were in the same corner that I was in the previous 3 years. Same little corner when you're kind of embarrassed, and they were hanging out in the same corner that I was hanging out in. So we kind of swapped spaces, you know, this past year. But, you know, I came back this time with that renewed sense of energy, man. I just want to make sure that our kids are taken care of. The first time I was there, I was a tyrant. And I won't apologize for it because there was a lot of top-heavy positions. There was a lot of splurging going on. And we still have some things that have to be worked on because the times I wasn't there was so much stuff that still happened. But this go around, you know, I told them, you know, look, if you guys don't want to see me screaming and yelling, man, make sure whatever decision you make is going to benefit the children. And you have to convince me of that. You can't just tell me that that's what it is. You have to show me that this is going to benefit the kids in order for me to be, because I'm just like Walter, man. I go to the press in a heartbeat. Yeah. You know, and you have to be that way. They try to talk against it. Oh, you should have one board member to represent. Oh, no, because each board member was voted individually. Yeah. So you can't tell me, oh, one person speaks for all of us. The community's not going to buy that because they voted for us individually.
You know what? You know what sticks out to me? The fact that while you are championing for education, that the other issue is always mass incarceration of jails. So wherever in urban communities that they're having these situations, right, for education, which is all too easy to input interventions if you want it. Listen, let's be honest. It's very easy. These are not new issues that we're dealing with. They're issues. It's nothing new under the sun. But for whatever reason, it just seems so challenging to get done, right? So we're dealing with education. You can't deal with education without dealing with the policing of situations. And I love what Walter said a few minutes ago, you know, as it relates to getting the media out for police brutality. It's like these things go hand in hand. So with that being said, Walter, I don't know if you're familiar with the CCRB, the Civilian Complaint Review Board, the police, the union, they just went to court this week. Initially in Newark, they went to court and they won. And our mayor, Raz J. went to court on an appeal and he won. So now they're going to a higher court so that they're just not held accountable. And it's like, you know, where's the accountability? And, you know, I don't know if you guys are in that in South Jersey, Walter, and what you could, you know, say to weigh in on that issue.
Well, I'm definitely in support of a CCRB. It's definitely needed. I mean, it has to be overhauled. I mean, for so many years, for centuries, even since the foundation of policing started, back on the plantation, how they were used to capture escaped slaves. They have just been so hurtful to us, just so brutal to us, and they're able to be the judge, jury in the execution in a matter of a few seconds.
Yeah, Tamir Rice.
Yeah, there's no accountability. I know in South Jersey, well, you know what? I'm gonna stop saying South Jersey. Selma, South Jersey, there's not a big push for a CC, RB. It's like the way it is down here, as far as my experience, since I've been on the front line dealing with police brutality.
Right.
Okay, they kill us. We march and protest. They sue. Family get money. Quiet. That's it until it happens again. Right.
Yep. And that's another thing. There's so much protesting that has come from the Black community, and I gotta say, it has had some impact, right? So
it has.
I think the civil disobedience is a great strategy to bring about attention and awareness to issues and to have it addressed. But you see that when you're non-Black, when you're white, and you want change in the community, you don't just march. You come out marching with guns. We've seen that recently with the reopening, right? The protest to reopen back up the country.
Right.
These people come with guns. They come with guns.
Military grade weapons.
Yeah. Silencers.
Yeah, and again, you see that it's just two different stories that's transpiring here. Corey, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar, remember the case in passing with Jameek Lowry.
Yep.
That was that's the one that I, spearheaded, I was out there. And that was the same. And I'm saying, for us, we have so much as a toothbrush. They'll say, oh, we thought it was a weapon. And so we opened fire.
Right.
I don't know if y'all saw recently in the recent protests, they were trying to subdue a white man who had a gun on him. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to get arrested. So they just kind of played with him. Come on, sir, let's go. Right. Black person, we would have been shot and killed instantly. Like without just one verbal warning, or I feared for my life. So there's definitely a need to address, and that's what I mean. The people on the local level, man, when they start acting like they want to go for higher offices, we got to get their position. What is your position on the Citizens Review Board or the police? Let us know now. Don't say, oh, I'll tell y'all when I get in Congress. No, we want to know now. Before you start making, you know what I mean? We want you to put it out there.
I agree with you. So this is where the whole problem becomes, like just something that could be resolved but doesn't get resolved. Like you said, we need to know the people's platforms. Now, here in the city of Newark, we understand that, we're dealing with the COVID-19 crisis. We get that. But yet and still, this election has been pushed off to a few days now. And we have not, it's like all the opportunities to share your platform has been taken away from the candidates because they don't want the mass public to know who's running, right? And a couple of people asked me to send in like a 1-minute video. I refuse to do it. I think that it's a slap in the face to Native Newarkers who have been here, who've been in the fight, who through that fight in those grassroots movements, which Corey, you know a lot about, we were able to save the jobs here. And just like Walter talked about earlier, that is a factor. That is a factor when you live in an urban community, but the majority of the people who work for your Board of Education don't look like you and don't live where you live. And so we don't want to talk about that. So what ends up happening is you just go along with status quo, and we have not been able to get a debate. Now, just like we're utilizing Zoom right now to share information with the community. Any entity that was really interested about educating the community on the candidates, they could easily do the same thing. This apparatus works for one, it works for all. Why haven't they been doing it? Again, because there are too many people who are either afraid or who are either getting the cut themselves to not do the right thing, to not make the right moral decisions in terms of our leadership, our representation, and sadly, our posterity, our children. And I just wanted to ask you guys, were the debates equal in your town when you were running for debates? Did the organizations, were they fair in terms of putting all the candidates out there because I just want to ask you guys that, and then we'll talk about why. So we'll start with Corey, and then we'll go to Walter.
Yeah, I mean, for you mean for the school board, right?
Yeah. Did you get fair opportunity for debate? Yeah.
I mean, some of the candidates, there were some instances where they wouldn't show up, for various reasons. But overall, yeah, I mean, the organizations that generally do the debates and the forum, that's nothing. They actually call it forums, and I really would like to have like debates where you really can debate the issues, because with a forum, your opponent can say just about anything, and they don't allow you to rebut. They ask you a question, we should be able to challenge false information. If something's wrong, we should have the power. Yeah, I'm sorry, with all due respect, that's not accurate information. Because the last election, there was a guy who ran for the school board in Patterson. When we were asked about how we felt about the school to prison pipeline, the young man said, well, I got to look into it. Sounds like a program that we could expand. Which means he had no clue as to what it was about. But we weren't allowed to challenge that. We had to just wait for the question to come around again. And I was burning in my seat. I wanted to jump up and grab
him. I know you were.
Because I said, what are you talking about? It's something you want to expand. I wanted to tell him, you should wait 5 minutes till everybody leaves before you leave. Because people were in the audience ready to tear him. They're looking at him like, what are you talking about, man?
There's been a lot of support in Patterson. You do. Walter, I'm sorry. Did you want to add something else, Corey?
Yeah, what?
Okay. Walter?
Well, I know down here in Selma, South Jersey, you don't really see a debate unless it's at the state, state level or the House level, like far as people running for Congress or what have you. But at the local level, you don't see that. I would love to be part of debates, just to get the issue out there and talk about the facts and things like that, but it just doesn't happen. So the way it's structured down here is, okay, you run for office, put your campaign signs out there. No one's challenging you on your platform or what are you trying to do for the people. But if they know you, or if that's your mom's cousins or it's Miss Bertha grandson or whatever, then you're gonna get those votes, But so that's what it is down here. But but me, I just learned to just being able to be well versed in the issues that's going on, and as well as address the issue, provide solutions. So when candidates say that or knock on your door and say, hey, I'm running for so and so, and I ask, well, what you gonna do? What you gonna do for Black people? What you gonna do for this community? What you gonna do for the school board? You know what I mean? Right. So I just said like last week that I told the mayor, I said I'm not endorsing any elected officials.
I'm having trouble to connect to internet. Please use Sprint Assistant for help.
Sorry about that.
I told her that I'm not endorsing any candidates till they take a position on their school district.
Right.
Because we dealing with an issue now.
That's right. You did say that.
Yeah. We dealing with an issue now where a vice principal, they're preying on underage girls. And the, superintendent, Dr. Cobian, covered it up. What I mean?
Are you serious?
That's a heart attack.
Wow. That's too much.
Yeah. And we have an elected official who it's called Penns Grover Carneys Point Regional School District, right? So we have an elected official, a Black man at that, who's an elected official or councilman or committeeman from Carneys Point. We have the new mayor, coming in, first African-American woman, elected and, whatnot. In South, Jersey, in this area. No one said nothing. No one said nothing.
My God.
Not the white clergy, not the Black clergy, not the Hispanic clergy, not the like I said, none of the elected officials. No one said nothing. Quiet about it. But I made sure.
What's the current status of that? Yeah.
Well, from my understanding that the parents, are suing. So once this COVID-19, is over with, it's going to pick up speed, because I'm sure that the media is going to, pick it up, because I'm going to make sure that they pick it up.
There you go.
So it's definitely going to put it back out there in the forefront. He's back around, well, not now, since, the kids are out of school, but before that, it was just as if they're trying to sweep it underneath the rug, and they sent them somewhere, and we had to pay for it. It cost $170 to where he went somewhere to basically get, it's kind of like, Corey, how when there's a police brutality case, they send you somewhere for sensitivity training. So basically, they sent him somewhere to teach him how to appropriately communicate with kids in the district.
Wow.
So that right there, is already a mission of guilt. And I had to shut the school board meeting down. In fact, I did shut it down to address the issue, and they was blindsided by that. But no one said nothing. We have a man, a white Hispanic male, preying on young people, and they acted as if everything is okay. They didn't say nothing. No one said a mumbling word. But then when it comes down to Sundays, or I fear no man but God. But it comes up when it comes to advocating for the people, where you at? You know what I mean? If you are a servant of God, well, where's his representatives at when the kids are being preyed on by these predators in our school district?
Okay.
In the school district, my God. Where can babies be safe if it's not in the schools?
Yeah, and I already got letters threatening to sue me for slander. Come on. I told him, come on, bring it. Please sue me. And this is one thing, let me just say this, this I learned from reading Dr. Carter G. Woodson book, Miseducation of a Negro.
Right.
So it's in there where Dr. Carter G. Woodson said, when they sue you for basically talking about the issue, it only hurts the person that's trying to sue you. And I learned what he meant when he said that, because when they sue you and when it goes to court, they open themselves up to every piece of litigation, to whereas you could go into their file. So basically, if I said something about Corey and Corey want to sue me, we go to court, and okay, well, why is Walter Hudson saying this about Corey? Well, let's look in Corey files.
That's right.
Oh, this is why he was saying. So they don't want that.
Right.
They don't want that. So I even sent the letter. Matter of fact, my attorney sent the letter back.
Right.
Basically saying that, represents me, and you want to bring forth lawsuit, but please do not notify me. Do not notify my client. And I told him I'm ready to go to court. Yeah. I want to show how much of a pervert and a nasty person you are that they have around their kids. And not only I'm going to put you on in the guillotine. I'm going to put the superintendent. And I'm going to put everybody who should have spoke up and said something, didn't say nothing.
Right. Listen, we so appreciate your advocacy. And I just appreciate both of you for coming on this evening, talking to the people, because what I want people to understand is that the issues that we're dealing with are not just relegated to the city of Newark, that these issues are relegated to the city of Patterson. They also are manifesting themselves in, what did you call it, Selma,
South Jersey.
Selma, South Jersey, right? And we have to just make sure that we're continuing the conversations and we're comparing what's going on, because it's incredible how we're dealing with the exact same situations. Because Walter, also here, a jail is supposed to be coming up on South Orange Avenue after we protested, in which I thought we had a successful protest for that jail not to come, and it's coming. So it's not a coincidence that everywhere that we have our urban communities that we're dealing with the exact same issue. So if there was anything that you could say, and again, I fight on my level here. We have an election on May 12th, but at the end of the day, the person that is the incumbent, who is the president, who is running, they have bigger plans, right? It's always politics over the children. And so this same person sits on the board of Newark Trust, who was supposed to do a debate forum with us. They never did it. They never did. This same person is planning on running for allegedly for city council here in the city of Newark when one of our councilmen leave, that he's planning to leave. And, and we have these situations where all of this is going on, but making sure the kids know how to read, that's not going on. Making sure there are interventions put in place in services, right? So that our kids are not going straight from a school to prison pipeline. That's not what's going on. A lot of politics is going on. And we're not saying that politics can't go on, but what we are saying that things like with nepotism, like Walter talked about with his wife, being involved, we have to really start to examine the way decisions are being made and to make sure that we're moving with some level of moral responsibility as it relates to our children and our posterity. And with that being said, again, I want to just bring this to a close. I'm gonna let you guys have the last word. Corey, we're gonna let you have the first word, of course, and you can just share with everybody what you think. I hope we didn't lose, because I see somebody missing. Let me see. I think we lost him, but Corey, we're going to just start with you. What is one message that you would like to give to the community, just in closing of what we talked about here today?
Okay, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of the voting process that's taken place this year due to the pandemic. The governor signed an executive order making all elections, narrowing all elections down to vote by mail. Make sure that you receive your vote by mail. It should be a package in the mail with the candidates listed. Make sure that if you're in Newark, it's a plug, tap Sheila's name. Make sure you check off her name and put your information in there. Don't let anybody come to your door and tell you they want to help you do your mail-in ballot. Reach out to your county clerk's office and make sure that they assist you, but don't have individual campaigns trying to assist you with your mail-in ballots. If you see somebody trying to take your mail-in ballot out of your mailbox, you call the police, you make a police report. That's a federal offense. They're not supposed to be touching your mail, all right? Because I'm in Patterson, Sheila, it's crazy over here. We have video footage of people going in people's mailboxes and removing their vote by mails, putting it in garbage bag. Yeah, the people that they know are not voting for their candidate, they're taking their vote by mails out and throwing them in the garbage. So I'm alerting people to make sure that, look out for your mail, people. When you see your vote by mail coming, make sure you get it, you bring it in, and don't allow anybody to say, we'll take it for you. You take it to the post office, you give it to the teller, make sure so that way your vote is being counted. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what I'm on to say. I know it's going to be a crazy election, but hopefully the people will elect people that really want to do for them and not for their own self-interest.
Right. Because it's about serving. Great information, Corey. It's really about serving the people. And I just want our community and the Newark community to wake up and see that, because a lot of us feel that, we're at the behest of these other people, and it's just not the case. The Newarkers are the employers of these people, and they should be serving them. They're not leaders, and they're not acting in a way that they're serving the community, but they're serving, supplemental interests. Walter, thank you for coming back. We lost you there for a minute.
Yeah, my laptop had froze up on me, so I just jumped on the phone.
Okay, well, thanks for coming back. Listen, what messaging would you like to send just in closing for the community that, you would like to just make sure that they receive?
Well, I would say, just for this, for my community here in Summer, South Jersey, man, we are seeing things happening, and it's open up our eyes, and we have to, get involved. We may not like it. It may look like you're starting trouble. It may look like a lot, but we definitely have to get involved, especially with electing people that represent our issue. If you're not going to run, you know what I mean, elect people that's going to represent, our issues, because, we have the future of the young generation is at stake. If we don't get it right now, we're gonna lose them, and we can't lose them. We have to make sure that we end this for the betterment of the people. And this election is going to be, interesting. And the way to get involved by finding out, going on the website, seeing, when's the school board, which I know in my community is every first and third Monday, but now with the whole COVID situation, they doing it through Zoom now, and that's how the council meeting, which is the first and third Tuesday of the month. So, just get involved. You don't have to, say anything. Just listen and try to obtain some knowledge and do some research. So then you could come back and say, hey, well, what about this? Or, what about that? You can't just sit idly by and let things happen in your community. And then once it affects you directly, now you want to raise hell. No, you should have been raising hell a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, again, thank you guys for coming on, joining us this evening. Corey, you know that you're a friend to the show. We will be bringing you back again as we move forward. Walter, thank you. This is your first time on this show.
Yeah.
Walter, I've been educating my community like this for years, and it just had nothing to do with an election, but I happened to be running. Regardless of the outcomes of the election, I will still be continuing to push forward and try to educate our community and bring smart people like yourself and Corey and lots of others to share information to help our people understand exactly what's going on and what they can do to move forward. So again, thank both of you for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful and blessed weekend. And until we see you guys again.
Thank you.
Peace. Peace, Walter.
Have to the people. Have a good one.
Have a good one.